or join physically, our gracious host and patron, Margaret Jackson, threw a challenge to us. If we don't tell our story as Africa, if we do not take the reins of our learning and development as Africa, then it will be told to us, for us, and we will have to adapt, adopt, and pick things and run. But together, even as we look at AU Agenda 2063 of making sure that Africa is integrated, not only economically, but socially, and even in matters education, that we can be able to collaborate and make sure that the burgeoning population of Africa is well taken care of. So thank you so much for being in this space. Allow me to just share something very quickly, and then we will get on the show and we shall run. Are you able to see my screen? Stanley, confirm you can see my screen. As Stanley confirms, Joy says she's grateful for relationships, connections made in 2024. Sarah, can you see my screen?
Not yet. I can see you, but not your screen.
Okay, so I'm the screen for now, eh?
No,
That's good.
Yes, I can see your screen now.
Good, good. As I said, this is part of the conversation, ongoing conversation about L&D Conference Africa 2024. And our conversation today will be around the crucial role of collaboration and partnerships in achieving sustainable learning and development. We need to be able to tell our story, not only as we know it, but even how we would like to go. We know they understand the trends, we understand the cultures. How then do we shift and make it work for us? So a little bit about L&D Africa, a dynamic network of professionals committed to advancing personal and organizational development across Africa and beyond. The network brings together practitioners and enthusiasts in the learning and development industry to engage, share ideas, and create innovative, homegrown solutions that address Africa's unique challenges while aligning with global best practices. We are privileged this evening to have with us the convener, the patron, Margaret Jackson, and I will just like to allow her to say hello to us and a few words. She told me she'll not be speaking, but just a word of hello from you, Margaret. There's always a word of wisdom that you pass through to us.
You
Margaret,
definitely knew I didn't want to speak, Joe.
I know. Just say hello. You know, I've mentioned your name so much.
Yes.
But if someone has not met you, they will wonder.
And I'm saying Joe
this?
has really missed me. Joe has
Of
missed
us.
me.
I wish I can come to Ghana, like even
You
on the next
should.
flight this
You
evening, and
should.
come and say hi to you and Stanley and Dr. Patrick.
And a big hello to everyone who is on the call. It's afternoon here. It may be evening at your end. It's a joy to have you. And I keep on saying, we will paint our own picture of what happens in Africa. This is just the beginning. We are going to paint with beautiful colors, and the whole world is going to hear about us and see the beautiful painting that we eventually, I think it's a never-ending story, but as we continue to paint, others are going to see that we have professionals who excel in what they do on the continent. Thank you for being here. And for our speaker today, Sarah, thank you so much. After all, it is said, sharing is caring. You care, so you are sharing with us today. We are grateful. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Margaret. And on that high note, we have been told that we have professionals in Africa. Actually, I think we have in the world, we have the best professionals in the world, if you were to ask me. Best research scientists, best development professionals, best educationists, best everything, best business people. Put us anywhere in the world and we thrive. So this evening, we are talking about collaborations and partnerships with the amazing Sarah Yusuf. I met Sarah during the conference virtually, and we chatted, I think, for 2 days, even as we tried to make sure that we could have everyone talking. But you can imagine the wealth, breadth, and depth of information that we had was amazing. So Sarah is a knowledge management specialist. She's very passionate about helping organizations and businesses thrive in the 21st century by becoming learning organizations. She's also passionate about helping. During the conference, she kept on checking to see, are we okay? What support do we need? What else could she do from where she was? She currently serves as the head of learning and development at the Institute of African Diseases Prevention and Research Development Initiative, an organization aimed at introducing e-learning methodologies to the study of topical issues in the health space, especially as it relates to Africa and its health needs. Also serves as principal partner learning and development advisor at Kaizen, the Learning Place Limited, an organization that is aimed at creating and delivering bespoke online and traditional learning experiences. Ladies and gentlemen, we are still in Africa. In addition, she's an external faculty member at Grenoble Graduate School of Business, France, where she supervises and mentors bachelor students in international business studies. She has actively consulted and she still actively consults for several organizations, helping them to evaluate and identify opportunities aimed at increasing efficiency and effectiveness. And while all this is happening, she helps them map out their knowledge assets and develop human assets. She believes humans are the most valuable assets of every organization, and the moneymaker is the combined repository of knowledge, skills, and experiences. So to keep her mind creative and her creative mind sharp, she's a content writer and editor on a blog. We should be able to share this on chat, where she gets to share her amazing travel stories. And as a way of giving back to society, CSR is important. And as Africans, we also do CSR. She has founded Project Godia, an organization aimed at giving young mothers who had to drop out of school to have their babies an opportunity to get the education they desire. So Sarah is a strategic blend of great people, communication, and presentation skills, with a tenacity of flawless execution and delivery on all projects. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together, use the emoji button, shout, ululate, a round of applause to the amazing Sarah Yusuf. Sarah, welcome.
Thank you, Jill. Thank you.
Your bio is so huge and it's befitting. And as Margaret has said, we are here, we're in Africa, and we can be able to do this. Over to you, Sarah.
Yes,
Oh, and as
I
you
believe
come up, let me throw a twist into this conversation. As you come up, you have said you do a blog about amazing places that you've traveled to. Which is the best place you've been to so far?
Oh, wow, that's a difficult question. That's a really it's really difficult to pick a best place. I think I can pick places I like for some reason, but I don't think there's a best place. I absolutely love Geneva with all of my heart. I think it's calm. I think it's sweet. I like the vibe the city gives. Then I really, really like the Lake Como region in Italy. I absolutely appreciate just it has a personality of its own, you know. And I love the cuisine in Florence. Yes, I love the cuisine in Florence. I think those would be my top 3 cities.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you. Thank you very much. We look forward to traveling the world through your eyes and through your writing. But this evening, we sit at your feet to learn. Take it away.
Thank you, Joe. Good evening, everybody from Nigeria. Good evening. It's evening now in Nigeria. It's an absolute pleasure to be here with all of you talking about collaboration and partnership for sustainable learning and development in Africa. This is particularly interesting for me because I have spent a bulk of my career in L&D trying to address topical issues in the health space, especially in Africa. And in trying to do that, I have experienced, I have witnessed, and I have, come to see that there are gaps that we can cover through collaborations and partnership. And I truly believe that, like Joe said, Africa has some of the best minds, some of the best hands. I started L&D as a knowledge management specialist, so it wasn't really a career I started to teach or to even develop courses. It was just to know how to identify tacit knowledge, make them explicit, codify them in a way that people could benefit from. So in doing that, I was able to spread my wings, a little bit across Africa. And that gave me such a huge perspective that I'm happy to share with you today. In Nigeria, we have a model that we recently designed. And I'll be talking about it in this presentation just to share some ideas out there. And hopefully we can begin to see things happen and see the wheels moving in that direction. So, by way of introduction, across Africa, we know that achieving the SDG goals, we have clearly stated that we would need a well-equipped workforce to be able to do that. We need an educated workforce, a skilled workforce. And over the years, we have had very great strides in learning and development. We have a lot of trainings. I think the word capacity building is a norm in every industry, in every organization in Africa. However, I think as L&D professionals, we have all noticed that there is still so much more to do. It seems like, we have done a lot in this field, but we still have gaps that we need to cover. And the truth is those gaps will continue to exist as the market continues to change, technology continues to evolve, people continue to break new frontiers and new boundaries. We're going to continually keep having the need to evolve alongside with that. So, have you ever heard the saying, right, that 2 good heads are better than 1? Well, some people would say it depends on the 2 heads and the 1 head, but in truth, collaboration and partnership between diverse stakeholders are essential for unlocking the full potential of L&D for sustainable development. Not only are they more profitable, they are also just the way forward for each and every one of us. So what is collaboration and what is partnership? Just to set the tone so we are on the same page. Collaboration refers to a broader concept of working together. This involves individuals or groups that have different skills or perspectives, and it can occur informally or formally, and may also involve a variety of activities. Partnerships, on the other hand, is a more formal arrangement. So let me just state here that I do believe that collaboration will precede a partnership. So the first step is always collaboration. You meet, you identify ways you can benefit from knowing each other. And then I would always advise, have a structured partnership, a formal agreement, the specific goal that you're trying to achieve, and what each party is also going to bring to the table and what they'll benefit from the table. So that's basically just the foundation for collaborations and partnership. Now, examples, we have the Google and Waymo story, Google self-driving car projects. Waymo partnered with various companies, including Lyft, Uber, to test and deploy these vehicles. We also have the Starbucks and Spotify model also. So this is just telling us that collaboration and partnership has existed. It's not new. It's not something that we're going to be seeing for the first time. Now, coming down to, the industry I'm more comfortable with, which is the non-profit partnerships, you have the Global Fund to Fight AIDS, Tuberculosis, and Malaria. We have a couple of organizations, civil society, private sector, government organizations coming together to form partnerships to advance the fund, the fight against AIDS and tuberculosis and malaria. We also have the partnership between Conservation International and Amazon. So what all of this just shows us is that it has existed. Now in education, I'm sure we are all aware of EDX. It's an online learning platform. And we know that when you want a certificate from Harvard University or MIT, in many cases, you go on EDX and then you can access courses from Harvard, courses from MIT. That is a very classic example of collaboration in L&D. What's happening? EDX has a platform, they have a reach, they have a market. Harvard, MIT, they have the subject matter expertise, they have the professors, they want the reach, they want their certificates out there. And with a simple partnership, so Harvard could as well say, no, we're going to keep all of our online courses in-house. And that's a way less market share for them. EDX could also say, no, we're going to build all of our courses ourselves. Way more expensive, redundant really, because you're just repeating the same thing and the same thing that exists. We have the University of California and Stanford University, also the partnership that they had with Stanford Berkeley Center for New Media and Learning, which specifically focuses on research and development in educational technology. I'm very passionate about educational technology, and you'd see that I would lean more towards that, but it's learning all the same. So let's move on with that. Now, why do we need collaboration? Can Africa be better than she is now? Do we think that, learning and develop, I want us to just, as I'm saying this, take a moment to think about it. Do you think Africa can be better? Do you think L&D in Africa can be enhanced? Do you believe that Africa has fields of rare intelligence and, talents that demand mining and demand being showcased globally? And do we think that supply is commensurate to demand? I think if we genuinely, answer these questions, we would realize that there is such a huge gap, despite all of the strides that we've been making. And as an L&D professional in Africa, it hurts me to see that we have this opportunity to champion a global movement, but we seem to be, I don't know if it's not being out there enough or not doing enough. And I truly believe that the ability to now walk across countries until we connect the entire continent, thereby creating a model for us to be able to showcase globally, would give us vast opportunity in Africa and would largely help with the supply and demand issues that we are having in L&D. And, with Africa, we have the issue of small businesses, especially not being able to afford L&D programs for their employees. So they're using, open resources, Udemy and Coursera and, other platforms that exist with free certificates and etc. But then we have all of these L&D endeavors going on in Africa week in, week out, and nobody even knows they're there. And I truly believe in South-South learning, that Africa should learn from Africa and develop a product for Africa, and Africans should teach Africans also. Because much more than anybody, we understand our continent, we understand the differences that we have, we understand how it plays out in our markets, and we cannot continue to bend our workforce into a model that already exists. When we can build something, and not only can we build, we have built, we keep building, but we're just not talking about it enough. We are not putting it out there enough. People don't know that it's there. And it's almost like L&D has become a siloed approach. So today there is something happening here, and tomorrow it's happening, and next tomorrow it's happening here. And then there's this whole other vast industry that is left untouched. Now, if the answer to the last question is an amplified no, then the question is not why the need for collaboration, but why not? Now, Africa has a rapid population and workforce, a lot of economic transformation, and with all of that is a demand for skilled workforce with knowledge, competencies, culture, and critical thinking. The traditional education system is doing a lot, but it's struggling to keep pace with the evolving needs, especially when we talk about continuing professional development. By the time an individual is getting into their first year in university, in 4 years' time, the market has significantly shifted. New things are up there and then we're just putting them into the market. But we need continuing professional development across all industries for people who are looking to switch roles, who are looking to pivot in their careers, who are looking to do all sorts of things. So this, there is a demand for it. And we know that there's limited government resources and fragmented private sector intervention. Now, how do we as L&D professionals build and establish collaborations and partnerships? The first is networking and relationship building. I'll go very fast over this so we can really get into the crux of the conversation for today. I believe we all know that networking and relationship building, like the just concluded conference in Kenya, is a very great opportunity. Attend industry events, meet with people in your industry, discuss their country's unique needs, their approaches, the solutions that have worked and what haven't worked. Join professional organizations, reach out to potential partners, be proactive about it. Classic example, I think during the conference, I got some people sending me messages, oh, I checked your site and I saw this. I don't know, how can we, work together? And I was absolutely impressed that, someone just reading your profile is like, oh, how can we work together? Let's work together in Kenya, let's work together in Ghana, let's work together in Uganda, let's work together in Cameroon. And I'm like, this is impressive that we are actually thinking in that direction. So be proactive in reaching out, reach potential partners, learn about their goals, their values, their area of expertise, and identify common grounds where where you can work with these partners and where you share the same interests. Create a strong value proposition. So one thing with collaboration and partnership is it cannot be you taking, you have to be giving something. And I think for a lot of times that's where we have missed the point, and it looks like people are not willing. Because when you reach out to someone and say, oh, give me your content to use, then what's in it for them? So there's value proposition on both sides. So let's pay attention to that and ensure that when you're trying to, build collaboration, especially across borders, you need to highlight what your strength is. You need to highlight what, unique resources or skills or expertise you're bringing to that partnership. Ensure you develop a partnership agreement. Like I've said earlier, outline the roles and responsibilities, establish communication channels, define what success is for that partnership, and also foster open and honest communication. Communicate regularly, be active, be transparent, no shady moves. Make sure that you're actually in there to give and create value. Then build trust and mutual respect, demonstrate reliability, respect differences, and celebrate success. And what are some benefits from it? Resource sharing. Nobody exists in an island. Partnerships have a way of just helping us manage resource, manage technology, and at the end of the day, deliver high quality L&D. There's a lot of innovation when you begin to collaborate with other people, especially across borders. You see diverse perspective, diverse expertise, entrepreneurship. Like I said in the Get to Know the Speaker yesterday, I have a keen eye for spotting business opportunities. So I always look for how can this grow into a business? How can we leverage this into something that, has social impact, but at the same time is profitable? There's satisfaction for the learners. Then there's overall better output. And we have a sustainable model when there's collaboration and partnership. Each of the partners are holding the fort at their own end. And when one is not able to hold it properly, the other is also taking over. And then we also can address real world challenges. We're not just sitting down and Googling things we think people need to learn, but we are actually addressing real world challenges. Now, proof of a successful collaboration. So this is the model I actually want to share. And I'm really excited about talking about this. So capacity building is something that we hear every single day. Every organization is talking about staff development, building the capacity of their staff. Every project, we have a lot of projects across Africa, and there's always that small component for capacity building. And one thing that bothered me and really worried me was the fact that projects always have a lifespan, but the people in the project outlived the lifespan of the project. And more often than not, at the end of that project, including the capacity building initiative, everything was wrapped up and dropped. And there was also the point where we have a target audience of, say, 1,000 people. Now, Nigeria is a huge country, so having 1,000 people to train is a strong possibility here. So we have 1,000 people to train. And then the budget is not enough to train 1,000 people just because there's the whole logistic nightmare involved. And we're only able to train 100, 200, 300. And that was such a problem, you know, at a point in time. And I was wondering, what could we do to tackle this? If, you know, if we needed other expertise, then we would be bringing in others. But if we were coming to our own subject matter experts, our own researchers, we were working with the resources and tools that we had with our own people to develop value, then we needed to come up with a solution that worked. And so we had a project in Nigeria that ran last year with through the course of last year into this year with USAID Health Workforce Management. And what we noticed was that the aim of the program was to train tutors of nurses, midwives, and community health extension workers. Now we have a vast pool of tutors. We have hundreds of institutions across the country, and we want all of these tutors to be trained with modern training strategies. So basically it was a train the trainers, but for tutors of nurses, midwives, and community healthcare practitioners. And we realized that we could bring all of these people to a classroom and train them, but at the end of the training, they'll probably be going away with what, 30% of what we said. And some weeks later, they'll probably be trying to remember what was that thing we said. And so we decided that, you know what, the project is closing. We have these people to train. How can we do something that brings in the private sector, brings in the government of Nigeria, and brings in an international partner? And we're able to build something so much so that when the project closes, this system that we have built to train tutors of nurses, midwives, and community health extension workers outlives the project. And that was where the whole collaboration began. So KZM The Learning Place Limited is a private limited liability company in Nigeria. We approached the government of Nigeria. By the time we got to the government of Nigeria, it was a lot of back and forth, a lot of having to convince, you know, a lot of coming up with clear plans and everything. And we spoke to the government and said, you know what, give us the license to train healthcare workers so that they know that when they're coming on our platform, they're not just coming to learn from some people they're not sure of, but they're coming to learn from people who have been backed by the government, who can give accredited licenses to both nurses, midwives, and community health extension workers, and that whatever they are learning here would count directly towards continuing professional development for them. That was the key to getting the interest of the learners. Now, we had that conversation, and fortunately, you know, we were able to show value enough and get that agreement with the government of Nigeria. And then the USAID Health Workforce Management says, you know what, we have access to global resources. We have a large pool of very expensive subject matter experts. We're going to bring them in and we're going to develop a foolproof course that would stand its own across Africa, in Nigeria, and globally. And that was where this partnership now began. So we developed the course with aid from the government agency, and they didn't pay us to build the course. We are a private sector organization. We sell courses. So they helped us build a course that was good. And I know it's funny because, you know, when people hear you're working with a partner, the next thing they begin to think is, oh, you're going to get some dollars, you're going to get some grants. And, you know, when you get the grant, it's going to be so much money. And then, no, that wasn't what we were doing. The only thing we needed from them was, look, we need the subject matter experts. We can't pay these people to develop this quality of course, but we need that from you. And they stepped in and did that. And by the time we got the course, we developed it, we put it on eacademy.kzenlearning.com. And then we began to market it. So we began to market it as we will any other course on our learning management system. We began to try to sell it as we will any other thing on our learning management system. The first thing that happened was a third-party organization called NANA came in and said, you know what, we want to pay for about 230 people, you know, who are tutors of nurses, midwives, and community health extension workers to benefit from this program. And then the next thing we began to do was, who are the other people who have results that they're looking for, especially in capacity building for this specific group of people. So if we tell them that we have this thing we have built, it's endorsed by the government, can give accredited certificates, and we want you to now key into it, perhaps provide scholarships, or just give us access to speak to your tutors and tell them, hey, this thing exists. You can come and take it, get your certificate and get your CPD points. And surprisingly, I told someone something that the project is long closed, but the initiative is still here. We're still running with it. We are still working with it. We are still selling it. And most importantly, we're still making the huge market share as far as this is concerned. And this same model we are now carrying to apply to other industries also. More recently, we are having a conversation with breaking into, a particular industry in Nigeria. And the first thing we're doing is speaking to the people in the industry. What do you need? What learning gaps have you identified? What do you think people would want to benefit from? Now, can we build blended learning initiatives that will take care of this? We can sell to individuals, we can sell to organizations, we can sell to the government, we can sell to the cooperative. But the most important thing is, at the end of the day, for every industry we are now going into, the model is who are the people, the stakeholders who seek to benefit the most from having a skilled workforce with these skills and these competencies that we are looking to bring into the market. And then how can we get them to back the initiative that we have? And this applies in Nigeria, this applies in Cameroon, this applies in Uganda, this applies in, pretty much every other African country that you have. Because one thing I've noticed is we seem to have the same things working for or against us. And for every country you go into, one thing that is sure is we keep hearing, our business leaders talking about the fact that, well, we need more people who know, we don't have people who know these things. We want to employ, but there is such a huge gap, especially in knowledge. We don't have people with the right skills. We don't have people with the right competencies. And I think for us as L&D professionals, this is the gap we should be looking to block. This is the gap we should be looking to fill. And the more we can fill these gaps, the more we can now give society a reason to see that the tool that would hold the business that would survive the century is learning and development. And I always tell business owners when I talk to them, if your business is going to thrive, you ought to be a learning organization. You absolutely have to be a learning organization. You cannot keep people using the same skills they came with at the time you hired them. They would have to grow, they would have to learn. As new research is busting out, as the world is moving forward, you will need to find a way to carry your workforce along with you. And L&D can do that. We are literally the tool across Africa that will bring all of this together. But the only way we can do that is if we begin to work together. For me as a person, it will be such joy if tomorrow my courses are on, say, some learning management system in Uganda that doesn't even have my name, but it's doing the same thing. It would be amazing if somebody in Togo reaches out to me and says, hey, build me this in Nigeria and send it because we have a need. It would be great if Joe can tell me, Sarah, I have all of these resources. How can you take advantage of it? Who do we need to speak to? Who do we need to bring in? How can we all step up to make sure that all of this is coming together and working together? And I think for us in Africa, this is something we can use. This is something we can do. And we need to begin to think of the way forward together, not individually, but together, because the market is much larger if we're moving forward together. Whether you look at all of the learning initiatives really across the world, everything that matters has always grown on the back of collaboration and partnerships. And for us in L&D, we need to start doing that. I really look forward to an Africa where, trainers are not Googling the things they're about to teach people, but where we are actually leveraging on subject matter experts. Because truth is, people can tell when you do that, They may enjoy the class, but then they know that it's not that deep, But if we're working with subject matter experts, if we're talking to each other, if we are growing as trainers, if we're bringing each other along, we're getting the benefits from other industries, from other countries, what has worked and what is yet to work, then we would move together, and we'll move together with so much more force and so much more power. So for me, that will really be the crux of the conversation today. that we need to stop operating as individuals. We need to stop being reactive. We need to develop a proactive model to L&D. We need to begin to identify the gaps in our communities and who seeks to benefit best from closing that gap. And we need to start drawing their attention to it. And we need to start working with each other better. We need to learn how to, have the cross-border communication and cross-border. Yes, Margaret says partner or perish as a continent. Absolutely true. That's perfect way to put it. Partner or perish as a continent. It's one of the two. So for us as Africa, we need to move together. So on that note, I want to tell us that the future of partnership is developing joint L&D strategies that align with national development and goals. And this applies to any nation on the African continent, leveraging technology for inclusive, accessible, and sustainable learning opportunities. One of the models that has worked beautifully for us in Nigeria is blended learning, where we have huge components of the training that are delivered virtually in a self-paced learning environment. But the criteria for now attending the practical physical trainings is having completed the self-paced online version of the course. It has reduced cost. It has given us much more bigger market share. So you can't afford to keep people, in a classroom for 10 days, but you can do it for 2 days. So let's bring in technology. Let's leverage on what exists and let's cover that gap, facilitating knowledge sharing and best practices across different stakeholders. I mean, Learning and Development Africa is such a great platform for doing that. I think we can still do more in terms of actual practical training, So I'm looking forward to, say, becoming a leadership trainer. Who trains the leadership trainer? I'm looking forward to say training people on mind development. I'm looking forward to training on commercial leadership in fast-moving consumer goods industry. Who trains people in that aspect? Who is doing the research? What are we reading? What are we using to back the things we're telling people? Are we still recycling the same things? These are some of the things that we really need to look for. So in conclusion, investing in strategic learning and development is crucial for Africa's sustainable development. Collaborations and partnerships are key to overcoming existing challenges and achieving long-term success. And by leveraging the strengths of diverse stakeholders on the African continent, we can drive innovation, we can create new opportunities, and we can empower our own people with the skills necessary for a brighter future. And I truly believe that if we crack this code, then the African model can now become the global model. We can move something forward. We can change our communities. We can change our businesses. We can change our people. And then we can show the world how it's done in a much more effective and a much more better way. So on that note, thank you very much for listening. I look forward to working together. And I believe the floor is open for questions.
Sarah, I said it in the beginning. Your passion is evident in your voice and in the knowledge that you have just shared with us. As we move forward to closing this gap, I would like us to, if possible, those of us who can, because this is an extension of the conference, as we say thank you to Sarah, if you can, let us open our cameras and let's give her a wow, the L&D Africa style. So, Sarah, this is for you. Wow. 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 Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Sarah. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. I think because we talked a lot over those 2 days virtually, I feel like I've known you for years. But thank you for being in this space and that powerful presentation. Are there any questions? If anyone has any question, you can put it on chat before I bring in a few reactions from the floor. Crisp, Margaret Jackson says, crisp. Very interesting nuggets that you threw across to us. We must find a way to carry our workforce with us into the future. If we don't, we'll be lost. Who trains the leader? If we do not train the leader in our style, they will be trained for us, and our value systems will be lost. Then two good heads are better than one. I think I'm going to put that on my WhatsApp status for the next couple of days. Two good heads are better than one. And that resonates very well with what L&D Africa has been doing. And in terms of organizing conferences, webinars, and seminars, so that L&D professionals can be empowered to have impact. And going back to our theme of the conference, I have 3 questions. Okay, I have a few questions for you, but going back to our theme, embracing tomorrow, unlocking Africa's possibilities. You put forward some challenges that we are currently having.
Yeah.
And I would like to pick your amazing experience. 1, we know sometimes we say budget is an issue, but it could also be an issue of awareness. In your experience, what can be a good way for experts across Africa to create awareness about making L&D work through partnerships and collaborations, even at local levels?
Okay. Budget is an issue. I think is something every L&D professional has heard a lot of times, and the reason is not far-fetched from the fact that a lot of business leaders don't really see. I mean, spending on L&D would not automatically put money in the bank account, right? It's investing on your human capital, and then you're now wondering how do I, why do I spend so much on this? Money isn't going to come in. Would rather pay for materials or pay for some really expensive something that would bring money directly. Now, I do believe that will not change, except we can begin to show the return on investment for L&D programs. And unfortunately, there is no magic wand for it. The return on investment for L&D is slow. It's not immediate. It would not happen with the snap of your fingers. No, it's not going to happen. It's a long-term intentional model that will, in the long run, now pay. Now, where I think that collaborations and partnership can come in is in the sense that even for us as L&D professionals, it can reduce the expenses that we incur in building a training initiative for an organization, for an industry. I am a huge champion for virtual trainings. I'm a huge champion for using learning management system. I'm a huge champion for exploring educational technological tools. And one thing I've noticed is that with educational technology, which is pretty much a lot of what I do in terms of as a trainer using the LMS to train, I've noticed that we do have we're spending less to give more value. So not only are we having, like I mentioned earlier, I work with a lot of subject matter experts. I don't believe in Googling the answers as a trainer. I believe in getting the experts in. And my job is to take what the experts know and create it into an amazing learning experience for the end users. And what that has done is I find out that I'm able to give the same solution again and again and again and again. And that way it's costing the businesses and the industries less, but at the same time, it's giving them the same value. And the thing with educational technology, especially if you use the LMS, is that it also would now serve as a long-term job aid. So people, it's like, hey, for 1 year, at the tip of your fingers, you have all of the answers you need. You have, you can refresh your mind, whether it's with micro learning or with learning retrieval strategies or, if it's with just, just different methodologies, really, depending on who the audience is, what industry they are in. So I do think that one thing we can do cross-continentally is begin to think of how as L&D we can help the businesses manage expectation, understand the value, and at the same time spend reasonably. And more and more recently, with the whole economy of the world going crazy, L&D is still taking the heat on that. But if we leverage technology and we leverage, like I said, we already have a lot of resources out there. We already have a lot of people doing the same thing across continent, week in, week out. Let's talk to each other. Let's work together. How do I make it easy for businesses in Nigeria to access this? So if they can pay, say, $100,000, can they get it for 20? How can I give them this same value for that amount? It's by talking to someone who has already done half the work, and we can sell this again and again and again and again. So I do think that really it's for us as L&D, like I said, and like I tell business owners, cut straight to the chase. If you're going to survive the century, you need to train your people. The best of them would leave you and they would leave the continent and go somewhere in America where they can make a lot of money. You can't pay them that much. But what do you do with the ones you have? Because you're also looking to survive, right? So you need to invest in them. Now, how can I help you do this in a way that makes a lot of sense for all of us? And I think that is what we need to now begin to do. So the most important thing is talk to each other. Everything you're trying to do is not going to exist in a silo. It's been done already. These training materials are there. The researchers are still working on it. We have a lot of people in L&D that are focusing on research. And many times when I speak to them, okay, so something happened in my organization last month. We sent out an email for something, and then someone sends us a message. Hey, I just had this whole research, very amazing research. It's tailored to the healthcare industry, but I don't know how to publish it. And I'm like, what do you mean you don't know how to publish it? Bring it here. And then we look at it and it's like, oh, this is good. It should be out there. Now, for me, for that person, we have reduced. Now, if I was to start that from the onset, I would be billing any organization for my time. I'll be billing them for the expense in research. I'll be billing them for literally everything. But by partnering with this person who has already done this, 50% of the cost is out. And then we can just work together. So that is really where we can come. And we need to be realistic. I don't think it's changing anytime soon. I don't think there's a day that will come where businesses will say, oh, give all the money to L&D. We really want our people trained. I don't think so. But I think as L&D, we now need to begin to make sense. Yes, we have been making sense, but we need to begin to show them more. Show them more.
Show them more.
Yes,
I like that. We will ask for money, they might not give it to us. You talked about projects having a lifespan and the audience, participants, outliving the project. So there's a value that L&D experts bring. What about the recipients? How do we show them to build, to use what they have received to be able to build and build themselves some more?
Okay, this is a very interesting question. And, I've heard people talk about adult learning principles a lot and all sorts of, strategies and tips and gimmicks for adult learning. But I believe in one thing, right? The best strategy for an adult learner is that they need to see why they need it. They need to agree that they need it. They need to, no matter what you do, if an adult learner doesn't feel like it's useful to them, then they are not going to do it. And sincerely, for my organization, that was the reason why we had to get the government involved and link our learning initiatives to continuing professional development points. So a lot of people come because they need to get the CPD, but they get hooked because their lives are better, they know better, they can do their jobs better. We're answering the questions that they've been asking. And one of the ways we tested this was by having this thing we call a community call. So we have all of these people learning on our learning management system, and then we bring them in together, say once a month, and we're talking with them, and all of a sudden it's like, oh my God, this has been such a headache. I didn't know this, I didn't know that. And all of a sudden you realize that they didn't come because they wanted to learn. They came because they wanted to get CPD points. But now they're here because there is value. And I think for L&D, that's one thing we need to do. Let's look forward to creating value. Like I always tell my team, just because we come with very specific learning objectives does not mean that at the end of, say, a 5-day training, we have to be on that. If I come on day one and my learning objectives is to teach you what is leadership, and I'm asking the class and they say, oh, we know all about what is leadership. And they actually do know. Yes, and they actually do know, but they don't know about how to be an effective leader. Why do I insist on teaching them what is leadership? Let's grow from there. Let's move on to the next phase. And like I always tell people, I justify it to the business. I tell them, your people don't need this. They wouldn't even, we could spend 5 days talking about it. They would sit there because they have to be. But at the end of the day, that's not what they want. So really, the best way to teach an adult learner is to teach them what they need to learn and what they want to learn. And then you will get their full participation and cooperation, but not teaching them what you think they need to learn. So I think that is really the way we should go forward from that.
Thank you very much, Sarah. Understand value, create value, then show the value. I have 2 last questions for you. Allow me to read the first one from Johnson. Johnson, hi, it's good to see you. And Johnson says, hi, Sarah, this is truly an insightful session. Thank you so much. His question: it has been noted that it is essential for organizations to present a compelling value proposition when proposing collaborations. However, it appears to be particularly challenging for startup organizations to formulate attractive value propositions that appeal to larger organizations and institutions. What potential strategies can be employed to bridge this gap?
Okay, thank you, Johnson. So startup organizations experience this exact same issue in any industry, not just in L&D, whether it's in tech, whether it's in any industry, right? When you're a startup organization, the first thing people want to see is that they can trust you. And that is why, for most startups, I always advise them, why not start by testing this thing for real, for free? And let's see that there is results, that it can work, then someone will trust you with their money. But you can't come as a star. Ideas are good. And the thing with ideas is there's adrenaline. So you're pumped up and you're speaking. But more than ever, we have realized that doesn't always play out in that way. So if it's, say, a fintech, you would see that they've run maybe 1,000 transactions before looking for an investor. 1,000 transactions before looking for one person to say, okay, let's, take a chance on you. And so we need to do the same thing in L&D also. Start a podcast, hold a free webinar, send emails to some organizations and tell them I can do this for free and give them a teaser. And then if it works, then it's easier to now say, hey, give me money and let's do the masterclass. That's what we call it, right? Let's do the masterclass. So we've had the first one and it worked. So let's do the masterclass. So I think like this is not unique to L&D, right? It's across industry. If you're a startup organization, the first way, in fact, the way to become one is to break into the market. And to break into the market, drop some teasers, create value for the market. Don't start out running to make, to be profitable at first. Like I mentioned in the Get to Know the Speaker session yesterday, I spent the first 1 year after business school in Nigeria, just trying to convince people that, we could build online courses in Nigeria. The first courses we built for Port Health Services, which made sense because Port Health Services are in like all of the borders, and you can't always bring them to one location to train them. And when their staff began to take the course and we're like, oh, this is really nice, it's good to be trained. Some were saying, oh, it's the first time I've been trained. It now made sense all of a sudden that, hey, in hard-to-reach areas, in, resource-constrained locations, in resource-constrained industries, these people are already doing this thing. We could have as well kept trying to convince people with no results. But the more you put yourself out there, the more you take a chance on yourself and, let people see, let people critique, then, It works. Yeah. Margaret says it works like magic, free stuff. It does. And it's not the free really, but it's the fact that it's not costing me anything, and yet you're putting yourself in my face. And if you're good enough, then I will take a chance on you. And for a startup company, and that's one thing for people building businesses, especially in L&D, you have to keep trying again. The first no cannot be the reason why you should close market. Not even the 10th no. You have to keep trying. You have to keep reinventing yourself. You have to keep trying to find, like I said, find the gaps. There are a lot of gaps that exist. Find them and create value in that angle, and go, or take the gaps that are already filled and give something better than what exists, and your market will find you, and you would find your market also. So I hope that helps, Johnson. But yeah, keep pushing.
Yes, that helps. That helps. Thank you very much. If I put on my sales hat, a freemium is the best way to start. And it goes back to a conversation we've had from the beginning. Value.
Mm-hmm.
Show value. If no one knows you,
Mm-hmm.
they will not buy from you, but they have to know you, like you, and trust you. Thank you so
That's
much,
true.
Sarah.
Mm-hmm.
One other question
Mm-hmm.
from Kwado. Kwado, hi. When is the appropriate time to gather training needs, end of year moving into the ensuing year as part of PMS, or beginning of year when setting targets?
I think it should be
Maybe you can
ongoing.
just answer that briefly. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, I think it should be ongoing. There's no specific time. That should be an ongoing endeavor. Because what I believe is my training need at the beginning of the year will change largely in the middle of the year, and will also change largely at the end of the year. It depends on what's happening in the business at the time you're deploying that training needs assessment. So with people, you don't get a full picture. You get what the current need is. So they tend to give you the answer. Now we are having a problem in sales department. All of the needs will be around sales. If it becomes research and development tomorrow, all of the needs move to there. So I think it should be ongoing. It should be beginning of the year. It should be middle of the year. It should be at the end of the year. And then if you are an in-house L&D, it's now your job to sit on top of it and map out the clear indicators of what your actual learning needs are through the year. So there shouldn't be a specific time for training needs. It should be as frequently as other performance reviews are taking place in the organization.
Thank you very much, Sarah. It should be continuous because learning is a continuous activity. And the last question for us to allow you to breathe in and take some coconut water or some cold beverage. I don't know what the temperatures are in Nigeria at the moment. In the spirit of collaboration, share some nuggets on how learning and development experts can support integration of organizational change.
I believe that change management lies in the office of L&D. One thing for sure is people will resist change, but they are not resisting it because they don't want change. They're resisting it because they don't know what to expect. And how do you, when people don't know something, you make them know it. And how do you make them know it? By teaching them what they don't know. That's, so when we're talking of change management, I think L&D has a very pivotal role to play in change management in organizations, whether it's a business moving, whether there's a merger, whether there's an acquisition, whether there's just a change in direction, a change in leadership. I find that some of the best, so just a classic example briefly, a fast-moving consumer goods company in Nigeria had an entire change of leadership. The entire leadership, I mean, the CEO, the 6 directors were brand new. They were all just coming in because the business had been through a rocky phase. And I was sitting in a meeting with the CEO, and he goes, I don't know what to do. And, I was trying to convince him, like, oh, let me come in. I know you don't know these people, and it seems like we're not sure how to move. This business has been, and all eyes are on you globally. Like, what are you going to do in Nigeria? And all. And then, we had it was one day, and one day because they said they didn't have the time. But it was one day, we sat in the same room with them, and we called it a team building event, which in essence is the training. And we, deployed some personality tools and got people talking. We were able to see the frictions, the personalities. But what happened at the end of that day is, it's been like 3-4 years now, And every time I talk to their HR, she's like, you know, we keep saying that charter that you gave us, you know, the charter we came up with in the training we had with you, and it's really worked for us. Now, I didn't teach them any, I mean, I didn't even know what they were really doing. But at the end of the day, understand that the reason why there's resistance to change is because people don't know what to expect on the other side of it. Now, who bridges that gap? So when you're coming to bridge the gap between what is here and what is coming, then that is a clear role of L&D. And I think that as an L&D person, like I said, be proactive. You know, if change is happening, put yourself in there. Tell them, look, you guys are going to struggle, except, you know, you bring someone in. Let's do this. Let's do that. You know, we can help in this way. And I think every organization talks about change management as such a huge, huge burden. But if as L&D, you can present yourself as a solution to closing that gap of uncertainty that exists, then you're then showing value for what you do.
Thank you very much, Sarah. Value. You started with value. You have finished the conversation in value. And another round of applause to you. Thank you for doing an amazing job and showing that Africa has the professionals needed to make this space grow. So my key takeaways are collaboration is important. We must work together. And we have to do this cross-border in order for us to make sure that this growing population can be sorted. You could be having a solution and I'm in Kenya and I need it. And I could be having a solution and you're in Nigeria and I can be able to help you. So collaboration is important. And that is one of the reasons why L&D Africa exists. So thank you very much, Sarah. As we bring this conversation to a close, I've got some exciting news. Sarah, amazing. Thank you. You can take a cup of water, breathe in. And let me read the chat for you. Yeah, lots of adrenaline. Good. Thank you very much. Insightful presentation. Thank you, Sarah. Thank you for sharing your wisdom. Oh, thank you, Daisy, for your kind words. And from Margaret Jackson, she says, Sarah, you are awesome. I have some exciting news, but before I bring the exciting news, you know, you've just been hearing two voices on the call. I don't want you to get bored. Whenever I'm on stage, I have a twist. And in this twist, I would just like to ask two of my seniors who are on the call to say hello to you. It's very important. They're part of L&D Africa. And one of them is Dr. Patrick. Dr. Patrick, good afternoon, good evening. What time is it in Ghana now? I think for Dr. Patrick, are you able to unmute and just say hello? Okay.
Hello.
Hi, Dr. Patrick.
Hi. Good afternoon, good evening to you all. It's just been very exciting. Thank you so much, Joe. You have been missed, but we'll talk about that one later.
We'll talk about that one later. Thank you. It's good to hear from you.
Very interesting conversation. Thank you so much. And we really appreciate the contribution and all the discussion. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And all this would not have been made possible without our conference chair for 2024. Coach Carol, are you able to unmute and just say hello? I know you didn't want to speak, but you can say hello. Coach Carol?
Hi, Joe, and
Hi.
good to see you. I'm in a bit of a noisy place, but great to see you. And thank you, Sarah, for those wonderful, wonderful insights. Lots to learn and lots to do as well, as far as collaboration is concerned. So thank you all for joining this series. We, of course, going to have many more coming up and looking forward to continuing our engagement and our conversation, even in upcoming webinars, all the way up to March next year. Thank you so much. Back to you, Joe.
Thank you, Coach Carol. I was asked a question by James Ladipo. James, good evening. What are the specific takeaways in concrete terms? What is the roadmap for the collaboration starting from now? Are we pulling up groups? How do we take this presentation beyond the wow moments? So James, there has been things happening in the background. There's an active group. we are taking these conversations and crystallizing them. I believe we have your contact, so we should be able to add you to the group for you to see what is happening. But we are taking this conversation forward, taking charge of L&D in Africa so that we may own the story and talk the story ourselves. So thank you for that. So what happens next? What comes next? We have had the privilege of having Sarah with us today as she takes a cup of water and come to give us her parting shot. Mark your calendars. On the 5th of December, we have another amazing L&D Africa webinar. 5 to 7 p.m. East African time, West African time, 4 to 6 p.m. Central Africa time, 6 to 8 p.m. and 7 to 9 p.m. East Africa time. So we are looking forward to that. Don't miss this opportunity where we help you connect, learn, and grow. Then on 20th of December, we shall have another webinar. So on 5th of December, we have Kevin Yates. Make sure to mark your calendars, register, come in. Let's keep learning as we change this L&D Africa space and the L&D universe in Africa. Then we shall have another webinar again on 20th of December. And we are back in 2025 in Nairobi. Mark your calendars, 15th to 17th October 2025. Looking forward to hosting you again in Nairobi. Follow us on our socials, Facebook L&D Africa Conference, Instagram L&D Africa Conference, LinkedIn L&D Africa Conference, and on X at L&D Africa Conf. Our contacts, if you would like to get in touch with us, email info@lndafrica.org. Telephone numbers, we have the one for Ghana, +233 2445 1519, and the one for East Africa, Kenya, +254 741 185 2054. And visit our website, www.lndafrica.org. But most importantly, ladies and gentlemen, connect with us on our socials. There's always something happening there. So if you can right now, get your phone, go to LinkedIn, follow us, L&D Africa Conference, Facebook, L&D Africa Conference, Instagram, and L&D Africa Conference. We've made it so easy for you. And like we said, this platform was formed by our convener who spoke earlier on, Margaret Jackson, with 25 years experience as a master trainer. And she saw it fit to bring all these professionals that she had been bumping into every corner of Africa. When she's going, she's meeting L&D people, and she's brought all of them together. And together we have conferences, webinars, and seminars. Our conferences attract over 700 individuals annually, L&D professionals, and you get to learn and sharpen from each of the people there. Why? We want to empower you to have impact. We are talking about unlocking Africa's possibilities. As Sarah has put it very clearly for us, it's not a journey that one person can do alone. We all have to work together. And before we end for the evening, allow me to just bring Sarah back on stage. Sarah, your last words of wisdom this evening.
Thank you, Joe. My last words will be, there's a future for L&D, a much more bigger future than we can imagine. And we don't have to adapt to any models that already exist. We can create the model that we want to see play out in Africa. And it is my absolute hope that we would begin to collaborate across borders in Africa, have trainings that are trans-territorial in nature. And I look forward to seeing us, starting to work with each other. I look forward to seeing us starting to leverage on the strengths of each other and as much, cover the weakness of each other and create a model that, like I said, outlives what already exists, that L&D now becomes a very strategic business partner and not just something you do because you're nice as a company or you want to achieve some CSR goals. No, but that L&D is a strategic business partner, giving return on investment, proper value for money, and we're able to long-term track the impacts of what we do and showcase it as, you know, being relevant to the business. So I look forward to seeing us work together. You know, let's begin to talk to each other. Let's begin to, you know, it's okay, shoot a message. Hey, what do you think we can do together? And let's talk about it. Let's find ways, you know, let's share the problems that we're facing and let's see who has gone through it and how they were able to mitigate against it in their own countries and what we can also replicate in our own. So thank you very much for listening. Thank you all for such a, you know, kind words. And I look forward to having a lot more interaction, a lot more engagement, and seeing everyone in Kenya next year.
Yay, thank you. We are looking forward to seeing you in Kenya too. Thank you very
Yes.
much. On
Thank
behalf
you.
of the L&D Africa team and my tag team, the gracious, ever-present Martin Atta K. I think we need to give him flowers. Let's send him some reaction. Let's give Martin a wow. Martin, this wow is for you. Martin, this wow is for you. Oh, yes. Wow. 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 Thank you, Martin. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for being here and being a fantastic co-host. And to Stanley in the background. Stanley, I know you like standing behind my back. Let me also give you this wow. Thank you for the support. So wow, wow, and wow to Patrick and to Stanley in the background, making sure that things are happening well. My name is Joe Mukoko from Nairobi, Kenya, otherwise referred to, baptized by Dr. Patrick as the original Mukoko, and it has stuck. So from Nairobi and on behalf of the L&D Africa team, have a good evening. Bonsoir, au revoir, and all the other languages. I think by next year I'll have learned how everyone says bye in their native language. I look forward to that. So thank you and see you on 5th of December for our next webinar. It's been an honor and a pleasure being with you in this space. Thank you.
Thank you.
Stanley, we are good to end, to stop recording? Thank you.
Yes, please.
Thank you so much.